initially when you go to a hospital, you assume that there's a routine or or some sort of a pattern that you would go through. And everything to do with this has been just the opposite of anything that I've ever experienced before.
Oh man. Okay. Fuck. I feel like it's like supposed to be different this time. You know what I mean? Like
I
it was
know.
really off the cuff the first time that we had a conversation. This is something that had just happened. And I'm like, Kev, and I was uncertain as to whether or not I wanted to cover this topic because, man, it just spiderwebs into so many different things.
Absolutely. And it's hard too, because when you're in it, you're trying to uh get a get a lead on it, and
Mhm.
it always has a jump on you.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
So Kevin Street, this is Kevin's story. And how long ago was it that we first talked? When were you injured by vaccine?
May 6th
May 6th.
was the original, or the initial date of change.
Okay. So I just want to be clear to the viewers right now is that this is not a piece on whether you should make a certain health choice or not. This is my friend Kevin. We've told his story previously, and we're basically kind of doing a follow up here. So if there was to be anyone else that were to, unfortunately, have what happened to Kevin happen to them, that we can kind of make some progress on getting the help that that person needs. And Kevin, you've had an incredibly difficult time getting help since day one.
Absolutely. um yeah, it's been a real tough road to try and figure out and navigate through, because there's just initially when you go to a hospital, you assume that there's a routine or or some sort of a pattern that you would go through. And everything to do with this has been just the opposite of anything that I've ever experienced before, in an illness, at a hospital level. At pretty much everything involved has been something new. And it's not something that I would have expected to have to go through, because that's generally the profession of professionals.
Right.
You go there and you say, hey, I don't know how to do this, and they help you. This has not been that case at all. And if anything, I feel as though the injured have been helping them
Right.
with this process.
Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time going back because people can go check out that video. I'll make sure to have it in the links. So this happened to you in May. And how long after you got that poke did you start to feel these symptoms?
Symptoms onset that evening, and then they progressed over the course of 4 days. Within 2.5 weeks of behaving extremely lethargic and somewhat fluish, that was when I collapsed, and then the real bad stuff really came in. Um, at which point nobody really knew anything about, and everyone was just kind of gassing it off. And I ended up, obviously being persistent in my symptoms, and making sure that they did believe me and understand what was going on. I didn't know at that time that it was going to turn into a huge issue with a lot of others. But at this point in my life, I'm glad that I opened that can of worms way back in May to at least get this process started.
Right. So you really just thought maybe you had a flu in the beginning, so you weren't alarmed. Let's list off the most severe symptoms that you've had that have been progressing since things started to get bad.
Okay. Um, so first one was the collapse. Body tremors lasting an hour and a half, 2 hours of full out, exhausting tremors. Um, I have my blood is now messed up to the sense where it's extremely thin. So it's perfect for delivering a clot. So it's conditioned well. The brain fog is similar to being underwater, nonstop in a bubble of, stuff that you just feel kind of outside of yourself. The ringing in my ears is still nonstop every day, all day, very loud. That's been going for 5 months now. Um, Walking, obviously, I have a horrible gait now. I can't walk properly. However, I'm trying to stay out of the wheelchair and trying not to rely on walk aids because of the diagnosis that ended up coming through, and just the fact that those types of aids won't help me. They'll look as though they're helping me, but they'll progress the actual disease. So I'm trying to be as positive and trying to fight as much of this as I possibly can to prove otherwise.
Right.
There's tons. Like, I have um, blood vessels that have popped all over my body now. I've got black veins, blue veins. I've got red veins surfacing. My whole body itches all the time. Feels like there's bugs on me when I'm going to bed at night because my nerves are firing so bad.
Mhm.
Um, it is horrible. Like, there is, when something else happens, it makes your mind just say, really, is it even possible that there could be something else?
Right.
And it is, and there's no meds.
Right. So obviously a lot of physical trauma, psychological trauma, and not just from what you're going through in regards to dealing with this injury. But I remember this very early on when I was sharing your story on my social media. And one lady warned me in regards to having this conversation with you because you might be faking.
Mm.
And I said, wow, like if you had shared on social media that your daughter was injured this way and anyone was to question that, you would be heartless. What is it like for you knowing that there's naysayers out there, people that don't believe that you were injured this way? And for those that even do think that you were injured, that, you know what, you just happen to be one of those unfortunate few, yada, yada, yada. Does that hurt inside, or is that something now that you just learned to live with?
It hurts. It really hurts because you get it in so many different ways. Now, yes, I've gotten a little bit stronger to it and a little bit numb to it as well, but there's still some people out there that still manage to get my goat, just through ignorance. And, even to offer, there was people I said, you're more than welcome. Just come by my house. We'll sit down and we'll have a coffee, together, and you can check me out. And I've said, join Kevin's story. It's as open as possible to people to see. And the response is, I don't want to do something like that. And if I have to go into a private group to see your story, that's absurd. And just stuff like that, where they'll put up such a fight and try to give so many ignorant responses, but yet have no interest at all in even opening their mind up to it, in the fact that it could possibly be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, as much as I want to spend a lot of time on those types of concerns, maybe I spend a little bit too much time trying to draw light to those people as well, because I think it's important to have everyone involved in some way, shape, or form, regardless of where they come in at the level. Just awareness alone, it's very, very possible. And I know a lot more today that are injured than I did the first time that we did this, our first coverage of this. And I mean a lot. So at the very least, I'm getting a lot of people that are injured that are reaching out to me too and saying, hey, like, is this normal? And, how do we get through this faster? Or, I'm getting these types of responses, and I can pretty much tell them before they even start speaking what they've been diagnosed with, what the doctors have told them, and what tests they've run.
Right.
And then turn around and say, okay, so now you need to do this instead, because they're all going to come back negative. And they
Right.
do. It's a silent, I'll say killer. It's a perfect storm for a body, and it's literally a wasp's nest every day.
Okay. So let's just kind of give people the Coles notes here.
Yep.
The first thing someone should do if they believe that they've been injured, because there's obviously a route that a lot of people go. You're saying that goes nowhere. Where's the first place that someone should go?
Well, I always recommend going to your local emergency room for one reason.
Hmm.
A, they may have learned. B, they need to learn.
Right.
So if you go there, you're probably going to get sent home with some sort of a stress medication and say that, your onset is caused due to stress. So take it with a lump, take that information, get in your vehicle, and turn around and drive to a larger hospital with professionals, different types of professionals in it. That way there, when these professionals do get the chance to observe you in emerge, which they will, it just has to be ordered by the doctor, and there are neurologists in those hospitals every day, and they will come to see you, providing there's a reason for it. They're triggered on this stuff now. They know what's going on. We've definitely laid a lot of asphalt down so that they understand that this is real. And, even though the diagnosis that they give you is one that tends to cause a lot of animosity, being FND, functional neurological disorder, it's really it's a category that not too many people or doctors even know about. So they don't understand what you're actually going through, but the
Okay.
neurologists do.
Now, with the paperwork, where do they have to file this paperwork? Where do they get it, and where does it go?
Um, the paperwork that you'll get online is very difficult to source. It was brought to my attention yesterday that not one Canadian has been approved for the injury relief fund. However, I'm waiting for my response. I'm waiting for that piece of paper to be signed by my doctor so I can at least submit it. But that paperwork has been turned in now. This is day number 27 with no signature, on my disability claims. It's when I speak to FND, it's very, very real. Unfortunately, a lot of doctors don't understand it, and they do things like this, which make you wait 6 weeks for an appointment. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when it should be an emergency and it needs to be dealt with immediately. When I say go to see a neurologist, you can't just walk in and see them, but if you're in a hospital that have them, you will get to see them. And and then that's when you need to pour your heart out and make sure that they believe that that what's going on is real. And then they'll take care of you from there, and they'll get back to that emergency department or the doctors that initially saw you
Mm-hmm.
and inform them of what is real.
Right.
And whether that works or not, it's just part of paving.
Kevin, I know that you are also a wealth of knowledge and a resource for a lot of people. And I know that you're very open and wanting to help other people. So, on top of the steps that we've covered thus far, would you like to just basically give an open invitation for someone to reach out to you personally if they're going through some issues right now in regards to this subject matter?
Actually, it's probably best if they do. And simple reason why is because I have resources that I would love to share with them that I cannot share generally on my Facebook page. these are avenues that, that took a lot of beatings to get the answers to. So I'd rather not see them have to go through that as well. So please reach out directly to me. I will, I'll try to help you figure out the easiest route for you, as well as include you in our group as well of over 100 injured now that we're all personally friends with through this vaccine, so that they can have additional and different types of support through us too, because we all know mentally what we're going through, and we've all supported each other mentally as well, which is pretty cool when you say something to somebody and they automatically can relate. So,
Right.
don't ever think that you're alone, because that's going to be one of your largest battles.
Right. And from the moment that you had started the paperwork to where you finally got it signed, to where it was acknowledged as being an injury due to the procedure, that was something like a 4-month period, right? And if someone else were to have you on board and just kind of have you help them navigate this process, how much time do you think that you could shave off that 4 months if you could do it all over again, basically?
Well, I can tell you for sure, if you want to beat this illness, you have about 4 weeks to get in, be assessed, be diagnosed, and then be treated. Because things like central nervous disorders and these types of injuries require fast meds. And one of the regimes that they've been using, obviously, is steroids. And it's a 5-day treatment of steroids in hospital for GBS is one of the things. If you don't get treated in the first 4 weeks to 8 weeks, things aren't going to turn very well for you.
Right. So you're going to be able to give them some information that will get them on the right track and get them started right away, and shave, let's say, that 4-month timeline into maybe a 2-month timeline.
Yes.
Okay. And you're saying, and that can have a dramatic effect on regards to reducing the amount of damage in treatment to make them better potentially moving forward.
Absolutely. Especially with things like small vessel disease too, right? Because every time you have an issue, it obviously adds up. So a 4-month period of having tremors versus a 2-month period of having tremors, or for that matter, maybe even only a very short period of time of having tremors. It's just a matter of controlling those types of symptoms. So
right.
I can definitely help there.
Okay. And I can imagine that having 4 to 8 weeks of less severe symptoms would also be good for somebody psychologically as well. So thank you for offering that option out to people, Kev.
Yes, thank you for making it out there so that they know that they can reach out to me too, because a lot of people are leery.
And how many doctors have dropped you thus far? Like, these are family doctors or local doctors? I just know that you've been dropped by a few.
Yeah, so my family physician, last time I was in to discuss my test results, I went in with my wife because she's obviously there to help me remember things and to remember what I need to speak to and ask. And she was asked to leave as soon as she asked the doctor if there were any indications of permanent brain damage to me. So she was asked to leave. As soon as she went out of the office, obviously she was in tears, and now I'm upset too, because I just lost the person that has been taking care of me. And now I'm in an office with a doctor that doesn't believe me. And she basically looked me square in the face and started the conversation by saying that she's 4th in inches from dropping me as a patient. And at that point in time, I didn't even know that it wasn't legal to do stuff like that to patients.
Right.
And it's just bad because they're doing it to people.
And
These are
how many
supposed to
times
be.
has this happened to you?
Well, my family physician only did it the once, because now I just don't even bother going, because, it's just not working out. But I've been, I went to the Emerge 3 or 4 times, and all the physicians that I saw in the local hospital basically just washed it away as nothing, and treated me as if I was some kind of drug addict, is
Oh,
how they were treating me. Uh, because my gait is really bad and I can't walk very well. I guess a lot of my movements are similar to someone who has a methamphetamine problem. So when I say it's a hornet's nest inside my body, it really is.
so who do you move on to from there to get the help that you need? Because obviously you found some people now that have your back. Who would be those people that these individuals should search out?
I found an infectious disease doctor in Ottawa, Dr. Cowan. She is absolutely phenomenal. Had I not seen that lady, I probably wouldn't have gotten a diagnosis, for starters. She really got the ball rolling to the next level for me, because she addressed the doctor, she addressed the neurologist, and said, this guy needs to be looked at deeper for vaccination injury. She's a vaccine doctor.
Mm.
So she ordered that. And within 3 days, I was in getting my MRI. I was getting a spinal tap done to test my nervous fluid. And those test results all came back with evident findings of damage, and point to the fabulous injection.
Right. Now, what's the long term? Would it be prognosis in regards to what
Uh,
this is going to look like down the road? Is it kind of uncertain? Do you feel like you're a little bit of a lab rat as well? Because this is something that's brand new. We're using a brand new technology. And like, I know that they said in regards to the testing that they're doing on 5-year-olds to 11. Well, I shouldn't say the testing that they're doing, but I know that they said, well, to have any type of real data, we have to use it first, right?
oh, absolutely. Um, it's scary. Like, it is really scary, and I'll tell you why. Functional neurological disorder attacks both your brain as well as your body, and it literally will disconnect your body from your brain. So for anyone, including, I can't imagine being a 5-year-old child, um, not being confident that you're going to make it, period, is how it feels. And um, the unfortunate part about this is there is no cure for functional neurological disorder. There's also no known treatment to stop it or prevent it from progressing. The only thing that I can do is something like physio, which I'm waiting for that referral to happen right now. I had to actually call my neurologist and bother them to write me the referral because my doctor didn't. Um, it's very, very important that I get at it as fast as I can. So I'm 28 days already accepted into a program where a doctor wouldn't sign the piece of paper to get me into it to help myself.
Mm-hmm.
So to be a child, to go through this, and to be a parent watching a child going through this, and then being told that there's no cure for their child, that's like really, really bad. And not even that, but the other stuff that it does to them that are long term, like um, clotting in the brain, which causes mini strokes that are not detectable when you go into the hospital, right? So these mini strokes pile up and pile up, and every time you have one alongside with a tremor, it will take out parts of your brain vessels or blood vessels in your brain, and kill them. And when it does that, it also kills the cells that they're being fed, or that they're supposed to provide oxygen and blood flow to, so that you can function normally. And the real sad part about it all, and I really, really try not to dwell on this, but if you research small vascular disease on a brain onset, depending on how bad the onset is, and I would consider mine as pretty bad, life expectancy is 6 months to 4 years. So not only have, potentially the next 4 years of my life been compromised through trying to stay alive, but my family is going to have to watch me go through this as well. And when I look at it from an adult into a child, I don't think I could do it. So this is going to affect so many other people. I know so many people that are already affected that can't do what I'm doing today. So I feel as though I've been preserved to speak rather than to just lay down. I think the normal average human, I think this would have took them out already.
I want to go a little bit deeper into the psychological, because I know with conversations that I've had with you outside of being in a podcast, you've talked about knowing a bunch of people in your position that have written letters, like suicide notes. So for the person that might be watching right now that is dealing with this, or knows somebody that's dealing with this, what are some of the things that you can offer up to console that individual and give them a little bit more steam to keep going forward?
I've pointed to the receptors in your brain. They're compromised. A lot of them have to do with compassion. A lot of them have to do with just the process of thinking and how you're viewed from other people. To go from a somewhat normal person to, now I'm a handicapped person. That's a big change. It's a big change in your mind that you have to try and adjust and accept. And, to have to deal with the fight of being accepted, it's really concerning that, I've overlooked this my whole life and didn't even know that this was real, that people go through this period. My dad taught me to open the door for anybody. It didn't matter if they had a disability or whatever. And now, I still have that mindset where I'll open the door for people, and and they'll literally watch me hobble to get to the door to open it for them. It's really, really strange. I really do hope that these people that have written their notes, I hope that they tell their family members that they've done this as well. And if I can say anything to the family members, is they're not doing this for attention. They're doing this to stop the attention. And the negativity that's around this is it's bad, and it really hurts people as well as their family members. My wife was in the hospital this week. She's in the hospital because of what's happening to me. Um, it can affect so many people. How do you help us? Give us a hug, man. Just, a fist pump or something, or just, hang in there, or, obviously the people that have donated have relieved a huge portion of stress in my life, because now I'm 28 days in and I haven't had any income at all. And, everybody knows the mortgages and bills are never late. They're always show up on time. So, if anyone can assist in making the avenues easier to travel, then that's something. And it helps a lot. I have 18,000 people, I think, now that are following me in my private Kevin story. That's I'm sharing all that information with them. I hope that they can spiderweb that information out, because we're not getting it through mainstream media coverage at all. And, and that's hurtful too, because every time you see an ad that says that this is safe when you're suffering, it drives you the opposite direction. And, to see that amount of funding being put into promoting, um, and, and nothing for people that are fighting, it's not even frustrating, is not even the word. It's almost debilitating, to the point where, these people that have written those letters, they've already maxed their credit cards, and everybody around them has already, like the people that have donated to me, they're phenomenal people, and I thank every one of them, and I've never been one ever to ask for it. But had they not done what they've done, I wouldn't even be at this point today.
Mhm.
So it's just all kinds of stuff. It's all the things that you've been taught have to come back around, and it needs to happen to everybody out there, not just people that are hurt.
It's the fact that you just feel like you keep on being stepped on. It's like you're on the bottom of someone's shoe and no one is paying attention. No one is saying like, hey, this happens, and maybe give a little bit of compassion that there's people that have gone out there and like we all knew that there was a potential that there could be adverse reactions. Like we know that now, especially. Maybe we didn't know as much then, but with anything of this nature, any medical procedure, there is risk. And for the people that kind of ran out there and got it done early, you could kind of say, like, like they were kind of heroes. Like, we're going to take the brunt, we're going to do the right thing. And you do that. And then there is an adverse reaction. And then there's nobody there to kind of cradle your fall. And you're like, well, I'm supposed to be doing this for everybody. Where is everybody right now? Would that be a fair assessment?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that goes right to another thing where it's different people that come to your aid.
Mhm.
There's people that, that you never really associated very much with, that, show up often, or call me or send me a message, and just stuff like that, where you go, wow, I actually did have an impact on their life, and I've had messages from people that, were in school and stuff, where, I took them in as a co-op student, and have them reflect the fact that I had an impact on their life 30 years ago, and they never forgot it.
Wow.
So just little things keep you moving, and you need them.
So I see that fancy T-shirt that you have made,
Yes.
and you've been helping people in a number of capacities, not just by doing these podcasts, but you've also gotten into public speaking now. And tell me a little bit about Courageous Citizen. And I'm guessing that they probably have something to do with getting you to talk at these public functions.
Yes, Courageous Citizen is it's a very fine group of individuals. It was originally established through professionals, business professionals, people that like firemen and police and ambulance and doctors, and that type of network of people that can see, that have a different perspective generally of what's going on. And these people have come together and joined forces together to bring awareness to a lot of really, really good things. And one of them, obviously, is what's going on in Canada today. And they're a very, very great group of individuals. Um, I do some speaking with them because our agendas definitely align well. And they have a lot to offer people as well. It's just a matter of opening your mind up and listening to their what they're doing. They're online. It's Courageous Citizens. It's not hard to find, hence the name. It's not hard to remember either. And it's we're all kind of standing together to try and figure out ways to get through this new world.
Right.
And they obviously, it's a nonprofit organization, right? We're doing this with our own time and our own energies being put into something we believe in. So
Right.
hence the t-shirts, they're available for people as well. And anyone is welcome.
That's awesome. I'll make sure to put that in the link. And I believe that Gallant Media right there in the Valley, because you're coming out of Pembroke, and one of my sponsors as well, the title sponsor of my podcast, going to be making those shirts for you next. I believe we're doing your next batch. So a big shout out to Gallant Media for your websites, graphic design, branding, all that stuff. And you know what? This has been a fantastic catch up. And you've been talking about people that kind of come into in your life and people that pop out of your life. And I've known you for quite some time, and this has actually brought us a lot closer. And I can vouch for the kindness of this man. Kevin is one of the coolest dudes on the face of the planet, always kind, a big joker, like a big practical joker. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see that as difficult as this is, you haven't let it dampen your spirit that much. I couldn't expect you to be the same, and I think that would be unrealistic for anyone to want from you. But man, I'm telling you, if I was in your position, and I consider myself to be like a positivity ambassador, and I have a hard time trying to put myself in your shoes, thinking that I would be able to function at the level and be as productive as you have been since you've had this injury. So I thank you for that, Kevin. You are truly a light, a beam, a ray of sunshine. You are hope for so many people, dude. And I've had so many people reach out to me since I spoke to you this first time. And I'd like to thank you for giving me your time and enlightening me as well to want to dive deeper into this subject and really champion freedom of speech and giving voices like yours a platform, because it means so much to so many.
Really appreciate it. It's also people like yourself that allow us to get connected, right? In many ways, and be it through a friendship or be it through us doing podcasts together, whatever the case may be. Yes, I'm helping people, but I need platforms to allow me to do that, which you've provided me with. There are others that have helped me as well, but there's also a lot that haven't, so those people need to wake up as well and maybe watch this podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you'll help me do that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And obviously, this isn't going to be the end of it either. So I think as things progress, and I think as we have more information to offer people, I think it's a great platform for us to share on, and one to back to a couple months down the road and refresh every now and again as well, just to make sure that the awareness is it's being worked properly. It's not forgotten.
Well, Kevin Street, thank you very much for your time. I'm going to make sure that we have the link for Courageous Citizen up there so people can support you. I'll make sure that your GoFundMe page is also there. You can follow along on Facebook. It's a private group. Look for Kevin's Story. I think I'm giving them the DL on everything about Kevin Street. And if you like the podcast, you enjoyed the content, and you also want to support a platform that champions free speech and freedom of expression, I would really appreciate a subscribe, because obviously the more likes, the more subscribes and thumbs ups I get, the more people that I'm able to reach, the more people that Kevin would be able to reach as well. So until next time, you take care, be well, and love simply because you can. Thanks, Kev.
Thanks a lot, buddy. We'll see you again soon, I hope.